Hello everybody, it is the Popper J, and today I am here with a interesting topic, and it's Pioneer Brawl. Brawl is the format, it's almost like a commander format that you can use Planeswalkers in, a 60 card deck, and Standard. I think it is best placed in Pioneer. In Modern, it would get too broken because there's too many broken mechanics and it would just take over. In Legacy, it basically just becomes, you guessed it, Commander with 60 cards. So Pioneer, it makes it where you get to use all of your low cost legendaries throughout the years in a 1v1 format for Commander. Like Brawl was an amazing idea because Commander you'll end up playing a 6-drop commander in Commander, but in Pioneer Brawl, you'll end up running a 2-drop commander like Brawl Chief of Compliance, which is actually amazing for Mono Blue. But there's so many options. There's over 300 options for like commanders in Pioneer Brawl, and some of them are planeswalkers that the power level like it's high, but it's controlled by the fact that a lot of the strategies sometimes don't have like super OP things. Like Burn doesn't even have OG Lightning Bolt because Lightning Bolt hasn't been printed in forever. That's why people use Shocks and Wild Slash, I think, and Pioneer at the moment. The other awesome thing to think about is if you are playing Pioneer already, you already have these mana bases. All you need is one of all the shock lands, one of all the scry lands, and the scry lands are cheap, one of all of the ping land, the ping ones where you have to tap and they ping you. All of those ones, all you need is one of those. And then there's amazing tribes in this as well. So let's get into this. I'm just gonna show you guys just random commanders that you can play. You can run Kithian, who turns into Gideon. That's a 1 mana 2/1 creature that can be your commander, and then you can play humans and a whole bunch of other awesome tribal synergies in the deck. You can do whatever you want, just play tokens and try to flip them. And it's a 1 mana 2/1 commander, and you start with 25 life in Pioneer, and it's 1v1, so it's actually playable here, unlike in Commander, because Commander sucks. Zergo Bellstriker, it's a 1 mana 2/2 that will guarantee a 1-drop every single time. And if it goes to your command zone, I think you can play it with its dash cost, and then it'll go back to your hand, and then you can play it for its 1 mana again. So that's synergy right there. It's a 1 mana 2/2, and it can be your commander if you're trying to play mono red like aggro or something. It probably isn't the best, but it's also a warrior, so you can throw it in warrior decks. It probably isn't going to be anyone's commander, but it's something interesting to think about. Anafenza, mono white tokens, mono white weenies. It's just awesome. Ayli, just a life gain thing. Brawl, just spells. It's awesome. Amiria, tokens. Fifth the Lost, just another blue card that draws you cards. Blah blah blah. Hapatra would be awesome in this format because in War of the Spark we got proliferate cards, meaning we're gonna be able to proliferate those with no encounters. But we also have ways to put some encounters on the snakes, so we can proliferate the snakes. It'd be a really cool deck, and it's a 2-drop commander, and it'll allow you to play cards like that. And that's what's really fun about Commander is you get to build around certain cards, and that's what people really love about it. Jace Friends Prodigy. Who doesn't want this? Apparently the other Jace isn't loading. I don't have Wi-Fi on because I don't like ads running. So if you all know about this Jace, it's just really good. It's a 2 mana creature that flips into a planeswalker. I think it's tier 1 or something in normal commander, so it's see play here obviously. It's the 2-drop. Karzev, Skyship Raider, another aggro commander. 2 mana for a 1/3 first strike and menace, but every time it attacks, it makes a 2/1 that can die. But the really cool thing about it is it's basically 3 power for 2 mana on the battlefield as a creature, and that just is more aggro. And aggro in the format is what we never really got in Commander, because the best aggro you had was either vampires as casual kind of stuff, or you had combo decks that would just combo off on turn 2, and then you have to wait and see if someone has a counterspell. Lavinia Azorius Renegade. This shuts down decks that want to cast the 7 mana, 8 mana like commanders with using mana rocks, because they can't cast it unless like the number of lands. So if you're getting the mana by mana rocks, you can't do it. You can still use the mana rocks to cast smaller stuff throughout it, but you can't cast one big spell. And whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter it. So it also stops cheating in, which will be a thing. Lazav the Multifarious. So 2 mana, 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, surveil 1. So it's surveil. And it can become copies of creatures with converted mana cost X. It's just a really cool, fun commander. And it's in black and blue. That's really cool. Naban, Wizard Tribal. There's tribal in every single color. You got Wizard Tribal, you got Merfolk for blue, you got a whole bunch of stuff for blue, you got a whole bunch of stuff for black, like zombies and vampires. You got a whole bunch of stuff from white, like humans and warriors and stuff like that. It's just really awesome. Another commander that gives you stuff for having a lot of creatures is another token commander. SRAM, this is like it's an equipment or a just deck. So it's what would you call this? Almost like a Bogles deck. We have a few Bogles, but this is mono white, so you don't really get access to the Bogles that much. It doesn't have to be the commander though. You could play like white, green, and then throw this in the deck and do something with this, like give this lifelink and all that stuff, and then draw cards from it. Mono green Stompy will be available. There's so many good green Stompy cards. It's amazing. Creatures you control with power, toughness, 1 or less can't be blocked with Tezuku, Umazawa, or whatever. That's really cool. Tomic, another white card that's just really good for stopping stuff. This isn't really that good, but it's on here because it's an available creature you can play as a commander. Another wizard tribal card. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, wizards you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. It pumps itself. It has haste. It's really cool because there's so much support for wizard tribal in this because it isn't that great in commander. I mean, yes, there is like wizard tribal, but it's going to be a whole different deck in pioneer, and it will feel more like a creature based thing instead of spells and stuff. I mean, you're going to use spells, but I think you guys are getting what I'm pointing at. It's just going to be a whole different deck entirely. Alesha, who smiles at death. Anafenza the Foremost, Anax and Cymede, Ayara. This is already in normal Brawl and it's awesome. Bantu, Burmaz. You can play Cat Tribal. You can run this. You can run a whole bunch of the white. What's his names? Who makes cat tokens? You run Ajani and then Ajani's Pride Mate and a whole bunch of really cool cat stuff. Captain Lannery Storm. It's a cool card. It starts making mono red ramp. You can play big red creatures off of it. Another flip Planeswalker with Chandra. We have so many Chandras available in the format. They're not really that great, but they can be good. Another Aura Equipment Commander that already has Lifelink and Vigilance and stuff like that. Daxos. Daxos is really cool in my opinion because people already play things that like are just chaotic like this with the Black Commander. When deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library. You gain life equal to that card's converted mana cost. Until end of turn, you may cast that card, and you may spend mana as though it any mana to cast it. And it can't be blocked by big creatures. So as long as you control their little creatures down, it's gonna get in for this damage. Also, if you find a way to pump it bigger than power 3, so if you find a way to pump it with greater or toughness over 3, no matter what, when it blocks, it will be favorable because you'll kill it or at least not die. So that's good. Depala, so you also get Dwarf and Vehicle Tribal with this. So Dwarf Tribal is possible. There are some Dwarves. I don't think there's enough, but it's technically possible. And with a 60 card deck, it's really cool. We don't have enough Dwarves, I don't think, but it's still really cool to think about. Drana, this is both an ally commander. There isn't enough black allies in the format, but it technically could be one. It's a vampire commander if you want it to be that. You'll end up probably using a Storm because you can use Planeswalkers too. But it's also just a really awesome creature. It anthems all your creatures, no matter what kind of creature type they are. It just has really good creature types. But yeah, it's awesome. It's a really good card. Emery, this has already been played in Standard Brawl, and it costs 1 less for each artifact you control. And that gets around commander tasks, because after a while, you're going to continue to pay it for 1. It's going to enter the battlefield. You're going to start going and looking for artifacts. It's really cool. Feather, another Boros commander. And the thing is Boros commanders are now playable, unlike in Commander, because Commander completely warped the color pie. Blue is way better than all of the colors, and there's black, and then there's like red's all the way at the bottom. Yes, you can play red, but not like how you can in Brawl, a 1v1 format where a whole bunch of more red cards become playable. Gadwick the Wicked also already played. It's just another really cool blue wizard. And it's cool because you get to check all these creature types. I'm like, wow, they're actually that creature type. Like Gumgrelly the Generous, it's a goblin, and it pays you off for having goblins and other things. And it's really cool. So if you wanted to make this your commander, you could do that. And you can also play off the +1/+1 counter synergy. You can run Proliferate because we got a lot of that in More of the Spark. It's just really, really cool. Uh, Halar the Fire Fletcher. This is a cool card. I don't know how many kick spells there are in red and green, but if there is enough, this could actually be a really cool, fun, casual commander, in my opinion. I am actually wanting to look this up and see what I could do with it. Uh, Izarath the Awakener. This card is really cool. So it's a Reanimator commander, I believe. Yeah, it's a Reanimator commander, and that's really cool. So you can just play a completely cool, like low cost reanimation, sacrifice your stuff deck, use the low cost creatures that make your opponents discard or exile cards from their hand, sack it off, the next turn attack, pay the X, make them discard the card again, but then it'll go to exile, but then you'll get double value off of it. You got the sack trigger, you got death triggers. It's just really cool in my opinion. Jory in, whenever you cast your second spell each turn, draw a card. And then there's also cards that are in blue and red that are new. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, whenever you draw your second card each turn, it does something. So all you gotta do is play 2 spells and then you trigger it. And as a commander, that is very valuable for what we have out. Judith the Scourge Diva, I mean, it pumps all your red and black creatures, and then whenever they die, it deals damage to any target, so it can help board wipe them. It's just really cool. Campbell, Council of Allocation. This card, I usually used to play it as just a douchebag card in Commander, because it makes people hate to play their stuff. You don't actually kill anyone usually with it, but it can lock people like down because they're not going to want to play their really powerful instant sorceries. Like in normal commander, if they use a tutor, if they're tutoring a non-creature, they're gonna end up losing 4 life, and you'll gain so much life. And then if you have a payoff for gaining life, it gets really good. Legendary spells you cast cost 1 to last the Cath with Kethis. That's really cool because there's so many, as you can see, so many legendary spells that you can play in this format and in those colors. It's really cool. Kapala, a wizard, a merfolk tribal card that at the 3 mana slot, while there's plenty of other merfolks you can play. You're probably going to end up playing blue-green for your merfolk, but if you want to play mono blue, here you go. And there's plenty in the format for that. Krenko, another goblin tribal card. Whenever it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then create a number of 1/1s equal to its power. With the other goblin up there, where was it at? Grumgully, when it enters the battlefield, it already gets the counter, so when you swing, you get another counter, and you just made 3 goblins right there, and it doesn't make it. Yeah. Oh, and it enters the battlefield with an additional. So when you make these, they're also going to enter the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter. Isn't that like really good synergy right there? Here's a blue-green commander for Merfolk. It isn't that great. It's really good though, and it is a blue-green low-cost Merfolk commander. You already get lords for it anyways. Liliana. Okay, this is just it isn't loading, but that's fine. Okay, they don't load from here. Or some of them don't load. Like Elf Tribal. You get Elf Tribal with Marvin, the Nurturer. And so you play it. You can play a couple elves, and then boom, it gets a couple counters. If you can proliferate those counters, that also does a lot. And you basically just get to create this awesome elf ball deck. You get to play the big Eldrazi because the Eldrazi they're from Battle for Zendikar and the Gatewatch are legal. So there are some awesome, huge Eldrazi you could play off of just tapping this Marvin, adding 7 mana, 8 mana to your mana pool, straight up casting an Eldrazi out of your hand and just going for winning the game. Marvin Vane, and you probably wouldn't play this as your commander. You'd probably play it as one of the 59 in your deck for vampires, but it's a really good card, so it's here. And I have the worthy Minotaur Tribal is possible in this format. I don't know how many cards we have, but I know we have our 20 that we need for creatures for the deck that for it to be possible. And it's cool to know that this is available because everyone likes to build their casual decks, and with singleton formats, you don't get ran over as easily usually. Another flip planeswalker. It's just another really cool elf creature. You can also throw this in the elf deck for the elf ball deck. There's just so many good cards for the format. Olivia, Pinalar, Ronus. You get Ronus. There's so many good, like, here's another elf. Boom. That elf also helps you get your elf ball going. More artifact help. Just there's so much. And now down here we get over 100 planeswalkers. Over 100 playable planeswalkers. We even get the accessibility to mill. I think there is plenty of mill support, and because it's a 60 card format in 1v1, you could actually play mill. You have to find a way to not die to all the aggressive decks, because you know there's going to be plenty of aggressive decks. But there's enough counter magic. There's enough black creatures with lifelink to probably put down a border. You also get the ability to play an 8-rack style deck. There is one of the racks, and then there's Davriel, and there's some plenty of discard. There's no 2-mana discard, but there's plenty of 1 mana and 3 mana discard. Domri Raid, Domri Anarcha. This one's really good because I usually play it, and it gets you to 5 mana turn 4, unless you already mana ramped. Then it's what 5 mana turn 3 or something like that. It's really good. Or no, yeah, if you can play like a Elvish Mystic turn 1, turn 2 Domri, turn 3 you'll have enough mana to drop something like fairly big. It already has +1/+0. It can't be countered because you use this ability on it, and it's a removal spell. I really like this card. You get the Gideons, and not only do you get the Gideons, you get Gideon of the Trials, meaning that you can go full on Gideon tribal. We have plenty of Gideons. 1, 2. There's more down the way as they get more expensive. We get Kioras, we get Kayas, we get a whole bunch of Lilianas. So like Liliana, we can play mono black zombies with it and play Bolas' Citadel. We can also play the zombie that tutors for something to tutor for Citadel, and then play stuff like the mono black Devotion Gary and gain a whole bunch of life. Narset Part of Veils is legal. Nissa voices Zendikar, which is really good. It puts a plus one plus a counter on each creature you control. Alongside Proliferate and a whole bunch of other cards like that. It's really awesome. And also to note, you can play Super Friends because there's plenty of Super Friends support in this with cards like, I mean, other than the fact that some of these cards are just really good on their own. Sarkhan Fireblood. No, that's not the one I'm thinking about. The other Sarkhan makes all of your planeswalkers hit really hard as creatures. Saheeli, Sublime Artificer, you can find something to do with that. Here's a few Ajanis, like Ajani, Strength of the Pride, Ajani the Greathearted. This is a really good one. So it puts a plus counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each other planeswalker you control. And then creatures you control of menace. There's so much you can do in this format. You actually also get access to, because you get Arlinn Kord, if you can play all of the werewolves and have a werewolf tribal deck. And there's a couple, there's just plenty of support for it, really. Not to be competitive, but to be playable, and that's the important thing with some of these tribal decks that people love. You can't really play werewolf tribal in Commander, in my opinion, competitively, like, at all. But you could take, I think, if we made Pioneer Brawl, you could take an Arlinn Kord piloted wolf deck and go win a couple games. I think it's definitely possible because it's 1v1. All you gotta do is play the good cards. There's plenty of Chandras, another Domri, Gideon ally of Zendikar. That's another one that allows you to go off of the Gideon tribal plan. Another Gideon Champion of Justice. There's Whatleys for dinosaur stuff. There's Karns, and there's Karn, and there's Ugin. There's Ralzerix. Wow, this is a 20-minute video. There's so many cards. Down here you'll see that we have a total of 304 commanders right here. This isn't all the possible commanders. These are the ones that I picked out and just like made sure I got. Some of the ones I left out were just the bad legendaries that I knew no one really wants to play, or the the Planeswalker deck, Planeswalkers. Here's another support for Werewolf Tribal. Whenever each creature you control that's a wolf or a werewolf enters battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter, and it creates a wolf. So Wolf Werewolf Tribal is possible. There's also here's another Ajani you can play for Super Friends. There's okay, so many of these like Sarkin the Dragon Speaker I think it is the one that makes all your Planeswalkers creatures so you can beat in Obnixiluses. So there's some Obnixiluses you can play as your commander. You can like I honestly think Bolas' Citadel will probably go in every single one of the mono black decks or black X decks because it's just gonna add so much value, and you get to play a lot of the things that you didn't used to get to play in normal Commander. You can't play Burn in Commander. You can play Land Destruction in Red, but you can't really play Burn. You can't really play discard in Commander. Yes, there's like wheeling effects and doing stuff like that in Commander, and you use that one zombie commander or whatever who punishes them for drawing cards, I think. But that isn't really discard. Discard is when you turn 1, you thought seize them. Turn 2, you have them discard another card. Turn 3, you kill one of their creatures. Turn 4, you just lock them out of the game. Like cards like Liliana the Last Hope is really going to allow us to do stuff like that because it's a removal spell. It helps us get creatures and threats. And if you get to its ultimate, you got a finisher, and a finisher is really valuable in a planeswalker. You get a way to have a threat. You get a way to protect itself. It's just really good. Um, I think we get Galta, we get Zakama and whatever the weird names. You get Villas Broker of Blood. This is a really cool card. For 8 mana, as an additional cost, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This spell costs 2 less for each creature sacrificed this way. When it enters the battlefield, up to one target player's life total becomes half of their starting life total rounded down. So the starting life total is 25, rounded down. That is going to be like 12. If you can turn 1 play a rat or something, turn 2 play the zombie that makes another zombie, turn 3 play this, you sacrifice all of them, you uh, you have them lose half their life total rounded down, and you have a 7/6. It's not that bad as long as you can find a way to protect it. I think it's a really cool card. You get Razaketh. Okay, this is a bad card. Oh, let me get up here. Yeah, this is a bad card. Trauma Crisis. It's playable. You could play it and you'll be okay. I mean, in this format, like you can try to play it not as your commander, maybe in like the 59. Here's another Merfolk card you can play as your commander. This is a flying commander, or you can play it in a flying deck. You get Omnaths, which is really cool because you can play the landfall one, and you can play the other one, and there's plenty of elemental tribal stuff now. You get Chromium, and you get all the other Elder Dragons. You get Bruna and her counterpart, which that's really cool. You get Atarka. You get Unesh. You get the Locust God. You get Haunts of Hightower, Tassiger. You get Night Tribal, Rakdos, Prime Speaker Zentnafar, Obnixilis before he was a Planeswalker, or like while he was like in between it again. Niv Mizzets, another Niv Mizzet. You get Narset, Enlightened Master. Like, just there's so many. Oh, this is really cool. So, Hydra spells you cast cost 4 less to cast. There are so many Hydra spells printed in every single set. There's at least one in every single set, and we have plenty of sets. So you could play Hydra Tribal in this, and it would be fine. You play a couple Land of War Elves, and you play Elvish Mystic, and you get up to your Gargos, and then you just start playing these X Hydra spells while playing just some big dudes, and they're huge. So you also get to play stuff like Galta and just play mono green Stompy. You can play Yargle if you want. It's a 5 mana 9/3. Yarok, you can go for those enter the battlefield stuff. You can play Zergo, another Zergo. There's just so much you can do. You can play Melik. There's Madami the Ageless, so you can play extra turns. I think you get to play Dragon Tribal too if you want to play like Laughless with some mono red dragons. I think there is so much flexibility for the format. You get to use Fire Song and Sunspeaker. But okay, we're hitting up to about 25 minutes. I think it's time for me to end the video. I'm just spewing it out. Like all this, it's cost like over $1,000 if you wanted all of these commanders. But yeah, I'm really happy. Like I already play the format. I already play I already play my what was he at? Domri Anarchabolus. I really like playing him. There's so many red green stompy cards you get to play, and I'm not even like done with the deck yet. I don't even have my shocklands for it, and it's just already really cool. My friend plays Atarka, and he'll get it out in just a couple turns. There's enough mana ramp in the format to do that. I think there's just enough win cons that are different in the format for it to actually have a metagame instead of how in Commander, like there's not very many different win cons. There's reanimator win cons where you just win by reanimating and getting all the combo off. There's the complete combo where you'll go and you'll just do a complete combo in like blue and you'll use artifacts. And there's no fair magic in Commander. While here you actually get the chance to play fair magic with like Gargos, where you play just mono green Stompy and you get there. You can play Burn. Burn is fair magic. You can play Black Removal. That's more fair magic. I mean, you don't get to see that in real Commander, and when you look at commanders, I think a lot of people they just really want to build tribal decks. They really like the ability to build around a certain character and build a tribal deck around them. And I think Pioneer Brawl is the perfect place for it. And not only that, but it's also going to get support every single set because we're going to get multiple planeswalkers, multiple commanders, and not only that, but even if one's super broken, there is enough other commanders and the color pie isn't broken. So like blue, we don't have original counterspell. We don't even have free counterspells, I don't think. And if we do, they're not that great of free counterspells. So we don't have to worry about blue going out of control. Blue white, yes, they do get stuff like you get the planeswalkers that are blue white. You get the blue white counter spells, but it's not that scary because aggro actually gets to exist in this format. In Commander, you aren't just going to turn freaking 4 kill the blue player because then you have to face everyone else after you used all your cards. So yeah, I think this format is completely fair. It's like Pioneer. It'll feel like Pioneer, but with bigger creatures and a little bit of variance. You'll play the best cards in Pioneer. You'll play your Lilianas. You'll play some of the best finishers in Pioneer, but you'll also get to play cards that work with them because you have to fill your deck up. You'll have to worry more about synergy and not just getting the job done. Like Apatra, there isn't really going to be an Apatra Pioneer deck, I don't think. But for this, yeah, I do think it's going to be one of the best blue black commanders in Pioneer. But yes, this has been Popper J, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.